Hey everybody, welcome back to Mixing Music Analog and mixingmusicanalog.com and here on the YouTube channel. And today we're going to take a look and a listen to another one of the BAE 500 series products. We're going to take a look and listen to the B15, which is a 3-band parametric EQ in the 500 series module. We're going to listen to it on some acoustics, maybe on a drum, like a mono drum bus kind of a thing. And then we're going to maybe also compare it to the actual EQ in the SSL here so we can kind of hear the difference between what does it sound like on the SSL EQ versus the same settings on the BAE. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, go out to mixingmusicanalog.com, check out what I have going on over there, including the 2 hybrid mixing courses. You are going to dig that. And I think as I'm recording this video, and by the time you see this video, you can get $100 off each one of those hybrid mixing courses. Link will be in the description box below. Go check it out. So before we get started, full disclosure, so I reached out to my good buddies at Sweetwater and asked them for 3 different BAE modules so we can test it out here because you guys have asked me for it. You guys have asked me my opinions on BAE in the past. I've never used any of their stuff. I know they got a reputation of making really great high quality equipment, so I wanted to try it. So my good friends at Sweetwater sent me over the bus compressor, or the actual mono compressor, which we did a couple of weeks ago. Today the B15, and then also the 1073 not clone as well. That will be coming up in a video soon. So thank you so much to Sweetwater for sending these to me to bring these reviews and demos to you. But I do not get to keep this product. It does have to go back, I guess, in case I want to buy it. If I want to buy it, I get to keep it. But for now, they have to go back. So thank you, Sweetwater, for loaning me these 3 pieces. Check out the links in the description box for the other BAE videos that we just talked about. So what is the B15? The B15 is real simple. It's a 3-band parametric EQ. It's great. Sounds great. We have, let's walk over and take a look at the controls. I'll walk you through it, and then I'll kind of explain to you what we did for this acoustic guitar part here, how we kind of dialed it in versus the one on the SSL here. So let's go over to the rack and let's check it out, shall we? So here we are over at the rack. And here is the B15 right here. So it's 3 bands. It's really, really simple. We got a high shelf and a low shelf here. We have our in and out button. Down here, we have our low frequencies. Now this is a 2-tiered knob here. There's an inner sleeve here, this silver ring, and the black knob on top. The silver is what is the frequency selector, right? So all the way over here is off, and there's a little indent on the ring here. It's hard to see in the camera, and it's hard even to see, but I can feel it. So we have off 430, 300, 200, 120 hertz, and then 63 hertz, and we have plus or minus 16 dB using this knob here. Okay, so that's what we have here. Up top, again, we have from 560 hertz to 5.6K. And then up top here, we have from 6.8K all the way up to 16K. Again, they're all stepped here, as you can see. Again, plus or minus 16 dB. So that's what we have going on here. So what do I have dialed in for this acoustic guitar here is I have 120 hertz, a couple of dB there to give it a little bit of bottom end. We have a little bit here at, 5.6K, we dialed in about 2 or 3 dB, and then up here at 12K, we dialed in about 9 dB. Those are the settings on the BAE EQ, the B15. So let's come back over to the console here. So what I did was, we have 2 acoustic guitars here on the console. The first one here, channel 15, is the BAE with the frequencies that I just kind of described to you. The one on channel 16 is the SSL, the EQ on the console, and I dialed in the same frequencies and about the same amount of dBs and gain, or the same amount of boost on each frequency as I did on the 500 series. Now, the difference between the B15 and something like the SSL here is the B15 are step frequencies, right? They're all stepped. There's no variable in between where the SSL is. So I tried to get it as close as I could get it. Is it going to be absolutely identical? Well, not absolutely identical because, for example, 5.6K on the BAE, there is no 5.6. There's 4.5 and it goes up to 6K. So I could kind of figure out where 5.6 roughly lives, if that makes sense. So keep that in mind. We're just trying to get kind of a feel for what does it kind of sound like compared to the BAE. Is there any real difference in sound? So what we're going to do here first, let's just start off with just listening to the BAE and then I will take the insert in and out here so you could hear without the EQ, with the EQ on the console completely flat, and then adding the BAE 500 series, the B15. So let's do that first, and then we'll compare it to the SSL. Okay, so we're gonna start with it off. So here's completely dry, no EQ, no compression, no bus compression, no nothing, just a raw track coming out of Studio One down here on the console, and then I will insert, and you will see it, or I'll put it up on the screen, some text when the BAE kicks in, but you'll hear the difference. Here we go. We'll start with it off, no EQ. So obviously you can hear it jump in volume because I'm boosting frequencies over there. As I said, I've added about 9 dB at 12K, about 3 dB at 5.6K, and at 120 Hertz on the B15, we added about 3 dB. So it really does sound great. It really opens it up. It sounds very natural. It sounds very musical. It doesn't sound very harsh. 9 dB at 12K. On hardware EQs, I've learned over the last few years of testing these against plugins, the one thing about plugin EQs, even the third-party analog style plugin emulations, is sometimes when you boost up the top end, it can get very brittle. You can only boost it up a certain amount. Once you get beyond about 3 or 4 dB, it gets very bitey, kind of brittly sounding. We're almost maxed out on this hardware EQ, and it sounds great. It doesn't sound brittle. Now it sounds nice and smooth. It has a nice little sparkle to it. Sounds really great. So that's just with the BAE coming in and out. Now what I'd like to do is the channel right next to it, channel 16, is the same acoustic guitar part, but this time I dialed in those same frequencies, as I mentioned, as close as I could get on the SSL, so we can hear the difference between the SSL EQ and the BAE EQ. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start off with the BAE, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch, and I'll put some text up on the screen to when it's the SSL, and then I'll switch back. You can watch my hands. You could probably hear the difference. We're going to start with the BAE, and then we're going to go to the SSL, then the BAE, and then the SSL. Okay, so let's listen to the difference between the two, and let's just see if they're different at all, and if they are, what's different about them? I don't know. Let's take a listen. Here we go. Here is the BAE B15. Okay, so I don't know what you hear over YouTube, but what I hear here in the room, and they're pretty level matched in the room, is the SSL EQ has a little bit more bottom end. It's a little more low, mid, rich than the BAE. The BAE seems like it's a little bit thinner on the bottom end. Not in a bad way, just different. Now, could I match them exactly? I could probably turn up some more 120 here on the BAE just to see if we can match it a little bit more. Let me try to do that now. So let's come over here and I'll do that. So let me come over here to the 120 range, and let me jack that up just a little bit more. So maybe now we're adding a little bit more than what we were before. Also, the BAE seems like it has a little bit more sparkle on the top end, where the SSL isn't as sparkly. Let's try that. So now I've increased, and we'll start with the BAE. I've increased that 120, that low mid thing a little bit just to see if it kind of balances out. Let's try it. We'll start with the BAE, then we'll go to the SSL. Here we go. So interesting. So now the low end feels a little bit more the same between the two. I feel like the BAE seems a little bit more overall, just a little bit more richer sounding to me than the SSL. Now we got Jensen transformers on the in and output of that BAE, where we don't have transformers here inside of the console. So again, it just gives it a little bit of a different flavor. Now the BAE I think is really loosely based, I believe this EQ is probably loosely based around some kind of the Neve stuff. I know the 73 is, which we're going to look at in the next video, but it definitely has a different sound. Both of them sound fine. Neither one of them sounds bad. It's just that they're different. It's a different sound altogether. So it's nice to have, when I have 32 SSL EQs here on the board, to have a couple of different outboard pieces of different EQ. Gives you a little bit more flexibility. So that sounds pretty good. So that is our acoustic guitar. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a break here, cut away here for a second. I'm going to get this, just put this EQ on a nice little mono drum bus, and we're just going to tile it in and see what it sounds like there. So give me a second and I'll be right back and we'll listen to this on some drums. Okay, we're back. So now what I have is I have a mono drum room or drum overhead kind of a sound coming down to a drum bus here in mono. We got the B15 set up there on that bus. So let's just kind of dial it in and see what it sounds like. So right now it is, we'll take it out of the circuit here. Okay, we'll start playing back these drums here, and then we'll go ahead and we'll listen to it, and I'll just kind of tweak it in. We'll see what it sounds like. We'll take it in and out, and you can hear what the B15 sounds like on some drums. No other processing, no other EQ is on the board, no compression, no nothing. This is just the B15. Here we go. So what I really love about the B15 there, and I know it's hard to see exactly what frequency I'm on because that silver lower ring, it doesn't have a nice easy indent to see. But right now it's at about 60 hertz and we're boosting up quite a bit. It gives it a lot of power, a lot of punch. And around 8K, boosting that up quite a bit. Again, it doesn't get brittle. It sounds nice and smooth. So that adds quite a bit of weight to the drums. Reminds me similarly to my API 5500 EQ, the stereo EQ that I use on drum bus all the time. It's got that very similar kind of vibe, very weighty, punchy, not flubby or muddy on the bottom end, very tight and focused, and a nice top snap on the, especially on the snare, without getting brittle or too sizzly. It just sounds like it gives it a nice overall rounded sound with a little bit more focus and a little bit more punch with some smack on that snare. So that's kind of like what it sounds like on drums. So I think these BAE products, so far, the few that we've looked at, they're very, very musical. I like them. They're not, you can use them, you can really push them. They don't sound, they don't break apart when you push them too much, but they add some nice weight and color to the sound, which I really, really like. And I can tell you that this EQ sounds considerably different than the SSL one does on the Origin, as we heard in the acoustic guitar example. Not in a bad way, it's just different. The one thing I will say about the SSL EQs, and I think I mentioned this when we did the API 5500, and the reason why I bought the API 5500 is because when you start really boosting low ends on the SSL EQ, especially that 60 hertz, 80 hertz range, when you kick it up a little too much, it can get a little farty and a little flubby. What I found is on the BAE, very tight and focused. On the API, very tight and focused, which I really like. So what I find is when I have heavy transient stuff and I really want to push the bottom end, I don't lean on the SSL as much as I lean on outboard gear. And that's some of the advantages to having these 500 series type modules, because they're affordable enough. I think this EQ runs right around $1,000 US, which is pretty good for a BAE product. And the things are built like a tank. You have transformers in them, so they sound like quite a bit different. So it's nice to have some extra flavors here in the rack. I may have to consider getting me another one of these and getting a pair. Instead of sending them back to Sweetwater, maybe I'll purchase them. Who knows? It's nice to have that flexibility. So that's a look and a listen to the BAE B15 3-band parametric EQ. Again, thank you so much to Sweetwater for allowing me to borrow these things. They sound really, really great. And I'll leave the links in the description box below if you want to go check them out at Sweetwater. Those are affiliate links and I get a kickback and it helps support the channel here, but you don't pay any more for the product. So I really do appreciate you doing that. All the links will be in the description box below. Let me know in the comments what you think about BAE, and if you have any of their products, what's your experience with them? I'm brand new to them, and so far I really like them. So until the next video, I've been Dave with Mixing Music Analog and mixingmusicanalog.com. Thanks so much for watching me today, everybody. I'll see you guys in the next video.